Hey, what's going on, everybody? Uh, Doing a video on Ravens and TvT. This is something I've been experimenting with for the past week, and it's been doing really well. I've noticed nobody has been using this style, and I've practically been winning probably, I want to say, all of my TvTs with this kind of opener, or this kind of style. The only problem with that I have with it is probably just dealing with maybe any kind of related cheeses in the early game. But other than that, it's been winning like almost all of my macro games, surprisingly. So we're gonna go ahead and take a look at that. I'm gonna show you guys exactly how to use it compared to Heart of the Swarm, because it's definitely a lot different. And obviously this is for Legacy of the Void. So my openers vary just depending on how I feel, but my initial goal is to get in the Ravens as fast as possible, which means taking a lot of gases early. I always in TvT open up with a gas first, every single time. Ever since the changes between HOTS and Legacy of the Void, going gas first doesn't set you back from getting a factory at all. And you can also still get like a Reaper out in time as well. So Reaper openings are kind of like a default gas first as well as a Rax first, so it really doesn't matter. Okay, so here I decided to go for a Marine. You can do different kind of openings. I've been experimenting with Marauder on like the Oran map, like the small map. Sometimes I'll open up Reaper and still do this. It really just depends on how you feel. In this situation, I'm going to do Reactor Hellion. The safest thing, obviously, is to go for some kind of unit, whether it's a Marine or a Reaper, and then immediately try to get Hellions out behind that to deflect any kind of Reapers that might come to harass you. Okay. So like I said, very simple opening. This has nothing to do with the Raven just yet. Just make sure that you're building units while you're expanding behind this. So obviously, I try to do some kind of fast expand behind what I'm doing. It's very important to do this. This is Legacy of the Void, so trying to do some one base with two gas really isn't all that effective. I don't find it effective at all, especially if your opponent is going to try to do some one base versus you. Like if you stop it, it's pretty much a free win. The only thing you have to really worry about, like I said with this build, is any kind of proxies that might be outside of your base. Like what I probably should have done with this Marine was maybe at least scout it over here. Um, Scouting over here probably would be too dangerous, especially if they did an AA8, because then the Reaper would come out and probably kill it. So what I should have done was just scout over here, go back into the base. If they did do an AA8, obviously they have to travel just a little bit further than usual. Oh, sorry, there is no AA8 in this game. You know what I mean? Fast Reaper off one base with a proxy. But yeah, always go for some kind of safe opening, whether it's going to be Marauder and then into some kind of Hellions. Whether it's just constantly producing Marines, getting the factory producing constant Hellions, you can do that if you prefer to have a lot of Marines. I'm a person that doesn't really use Marines because I play mech instead of bio. You can go bio behind this if you want to, because you're producing mostly Ravens. Completely up to you, but I feel that this is the safest for any kind of mech opener. Now obviously I play mech all the time. So I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Going to go ahead and get a Raven. Now something I've had a problem with is kind of dealing with any kind of super fast Banshee. I've actually had someone beat me by doing some kind of proxy over here. Oh my goodness. There is an STB over here that might be a proxy, I don't know. My opponent has that over there. But obviously you want to get either a Raven or a Viking right away. If you do get the Viking, you better get an eBay a little bit faster. That way you can get turrets down. Obviously I just put 2 turrets up. I guess he's trying to take a hidden base right there. But yeah, I immediately go for a double starport right behind this. Now there's a couple openings that I do. If I go with the Marauder, obviously the factory is going to drop on the tech lab. That'll give me some siege tanks, or I can drop a starport onto the tech lab. Either or works. if you want to go really heavy into Ravens, you're going to stick to mostly just Hellions. Off a 2 base, you can constantly produce 2 at a time and still have a little bit of gas to do some kind of other teching, whether it's dropping more factories to go into that kind of mech style and whatnot. Another thing is you want to get the upgrade for energy right away. Okay, so instead of like committing to a Banshee with Cloak, commit to a Raven with the energy upgrade. Energy upgrade is most important in the beginning. Obviously, auto turret should be able to deflect any kind of early attack without any issue. The only time you need to get this damage upgrade is a little bit later when you start getting like 3 or 5 Ravens, because that's when a big attack might actually come, like a little bit later. Another thing is the armor upgrade as well. That's something you're going to want to rush also. Getting this armor upgrade for the auto turrets. Now, y'all are probably thinking, oh, auto turret is going to die too fast. Well, when it comes to those big engagements where there's a bunch of bio, uh, the auto turrets can tend to die pretty fast, faster than they dissipate, and you don't want that to happen. You want them to stick around as much as possible, do as much damage as it can during those kind of main engagements. So when you're talking about a Marine that does 6 damage, you know, if we click on the Marine, you can see the 6 damage down here, the Gauss rifle. You talk about auto turret, automatically comes with 2 armor because it's a building. So if I click on any building, you can see, oh, they change it? I guess it's just 1 armor. Maybe they changed it since Hotson Legacy the Void. Okay, so it's 1 armor instead of 2 armor. So if it's 1 armor with the auto turret, add an extra 2 armor, that Marine's only doing 3 damage instead of 5 damage, right? So when it comes to those big engagements, that's nearly half the damage diverted, which allows the auto turrets to pretty much live half as long. And that's pretty big. So if auto turrets are dropping at 2 seconds, they're going to stick around for at least 3 or 4 seconds, right? Okay, so that's the whole reason behind that. And you'll notice that I'll just go lots and lots of Ravens. I'll probably get maybe 2 or 3 Vikings just to shoot down any kind of early medevacs. But other than that, it's a lot of Ravens. Unless I start to see some kind of some air dominance play, like with Mass Vikings, that's probably when I'll start to go into specifically more Vikings and maybe more air play, because if you have Ravens, you have the PDD advantage. That means if you are behind on Vikings, it doesn't matter, because you can always throw auto turrets down and PDDs to pretty much kill your opponent's Vikings. And I'll show you that in the next game, because I played quite a bit of games yesterday that involved TvT and this kind of style. Okay, so we scan and we see specifically a factory and some Vikings. Okay, so we missed out on this. I'm going to rewind it for a second. The other thing I like about this build is that Doom drops do not work. Okay, they might come in, they might get a couple SCVs, but as long as you pull the SCVs in time and you react right away, they're not really going to do any damage, because auto turrets are pretty strong in this game when it comes to cleaning up army. And here's the other thing too. Let's assume that you're fighting some bio units, some units that could technically run away from you. If they're in your base, they can't run away, which means auto turrets are automatically going to kill stuff. So you kind of want your opponent to do drops, because you're pretty much getting free kills and you're probably not going to really lose anything with these Ravens whenever that happens. So something I noticed that when I'm playing like bio players or players that like the pressure a lot, because I have a bunch of Ravens and they're a lot faster in this game, I tend to clean up all drops with very little damage to my army. Like, usually the only time I have a hard time is when an opponent literally does no drops and tries to assault the front with everything they've got on like a 2 base when I'm trying to go to 3 base. And even then, I can still technically try to hold it as long as I have like my upgrades like the armor for the auto turrets. So this is actually a very strong build, even if you're fighting against mech as well. Because auto turrets do, I believe it's 14 damage, but they can also do an additional 30% more damage. I don't know how that works, but I guess it goes up to 21. So let's see what happens here. So let's pause it for a second. Okay, so the auto turret does 16 damage, right? Without the upgrade. And I'm going to show you guys later what happens when it has the upgrade. So the only reason I did not engage here is because my opponent also had a Raven. Very, very rare. Do they come and attack with a Raven also? I don't know why they did that, but let's just say I ran away, and these auto turrets aren't really going to do anything, and they're going to disappear, right? So I let them disappear, and then I engage. So now I go in, I attack. It's okay. I probably lose a couple Italians, whatever. I'm not even going to drop that many auto turrets either. I'm just going to drop 3. That's definitely enough to clean up these tanks with no issues whatsoever. And if we look at the units lost here, you can see that I lost only 550 resources compared to 1700. So like I was saying, when it comes to these doom drops and stuff, they get set so far behind, it's ridiculous whenever they try to attack like that. Immediately try to go for a third. This is a very heavy gas dependent build. All of your gas is literally going into this stuff. Now something I noticed is that with this army you can also go on the offensive, but if you go on the offensive you're going to want to try to go for the throw. You're not going to want to harass, you're not going to want to go behind the mineral line and throw down a couple auto turrets, blah blah blah. You know, that stuff used to work in Heart of the Swarm because the auto turret would stick around forever. But in this game, if someone comes behind me and they throw down an auto turret, I'm just going to pull my SCVs right over here, wait 5 seconds, pull them right back, and they're going to be back on mining again. This, the way you use the Ravens now, you're using them offensively. You're not using them defensively anymore. So at this point, I decide that I'm going to go attack, and the only reason I'm going to go attack is because my opponent decided that he wanted to do it like a two-way drop, which is a heavy commitment in units. And at this point, I figured, hey, you know what? I can probably go attack him. He doesn't have 2 tanks. 2 tanks died. He committed to 2 medevacs. That's actually quite a bit of gas. I'm going to go attack him now. Now, something I noticed is that with this army, it's actually very powerful. Now, here's the thing. I have 1 Viking. 1 Viking's not very good when it comes to fighting 4 Vikings, but the thing is, I've got Ravens. And with the Ravens, I got PDD as well. And because of that, the auto turrets can actually start shooting down my opponent's Vikings with ease. And I can keep moving forward, even throw down some more PDDs. If I run out of energy, do not commit to the attack. Because if you do that, it's completely pointless. As you can see here, I'm going to pull back a little bit. I don't have as much energy as I used to, but I got a bunch of Vikings for free and lost nothing for it. Gonna regroup, maybe heal up a little bit, and then I might go attack again. As you can see, dropping some factories, gonna go into that mech play, and then getting my getting my 3rd base. Now, I tend to make my 3rd bases planetaries, particularly because I'm fighting against bio, usually. Well, I didn't go bio, but it didn't matter. Now I just want to show you guys this attack. Because he committed to sending those Vikings out, he committed to the drop, I'm able to go attack him now with a good chunk of these Ravens. Scan, throw down some more PDDs. They can go right ahead, keep doing that. More PDDs, can't even do anything. Not even Thors, not even siege tanks are going to deal with this. If I get into that base and I start attacking units with auto turrets, not harassing with auto turrets, actually going for units, all of them are going to drop, as you can see. Doesn't matter if you're playing mech, doesn't matter if you're playing bio. Auto turrets with that extra upgrade doing 21 damage, that is pretty strong stuff. And it's actually going to, it just melts armies like it's nothing. Now, you guys are probably wondering, well, Ruff, can I do this versus Protoss and Zerg? I want to say not really. Okay. Now let me throw this out there. You guys are probably like, "Wow, that sucks. I would love to." If you get a lot of Ravens like this, obviously Parasitic Bomb will start killing them. And then their gas usage would be completely deficitated. It basically won't work at all. Basically, you'll be losing resources because of Vipers, especially if it gets to the late game. Can you do this in the early game? because of how beefy roaches are, and because you're using specifically Hellions, which means your opponent isn't going to have Hellions or Marines, which Hellions are good versus. If you're fighting against roaches and stuff, you're probably going to lose with this build. Just saying that because how tanky they are. Plus, Zerg is fast, so they can run away from auto turrets and stuff. Protoss, on the other hand, they have a lot of HP. A lot of the units have a lot of HP. They can probably just run back as well. Blink back, whatever it is. I can't see it being very effective. I see it being extremely effective only in TvT, which is what you're seeing here. So obviously I get into the base, and that's pretty much GG right there. Like, just completely annihilated the army, got in there with a bunch of Hellions. All the workers are going to get roasted if he stuck around, and the game would have been over. I'm going to show you a different instance. When I play a little bit of a longer game, I can still show you just how good the unit is on the defensive. So here's another TvT that we did some Ravens on. Now here my opponent actually did a good job with information, with figuring out what I was doing. Which is why the game ended up going a little bit longer than usual. I'm so used to fighting against mass bio and things like that. My opponent tried to hard counter me with, you'll see, I don't want to give it away. So like I said, doesn't matter how you open up, just know that you want to get this expansion right away and you want to get your gases right away. Try to figure out the timings yourself. I'm still having a hard time with the timings. The only thing is go for Ravens. That's it. That's all I know. I haven't found a really effective build. All of these builds are very safe openers versus any kind of cheeses and stuff. And so that's what I'm going for. Okay. So as you can see here, getting the starport. Get some Hellions out. That'll help me defend versus any kind of Reaper openings. And I go straight in the Ravens. Getting that gas, as you can see. Gas right away once you get the other bases up. Now let me pause this. A lot of you are probably like, well, what are the gas timings for your natural? You don't want to get the gas immediately, so sometimes I'll try to rush the gas when I'm only building like my command center's halfway done. That way it'll finish right when the command center's done. Technically that's not the greatest idea because then you won't have enough income to like drop the starport and stuff in the beginning. So what you want to do is you want to get these two gases. Obviously, do a gas first. Get your CC. It doesn't matter what kind of opener you do. Just opener with some units. You just need units to stop anything that might come cheesy. And then get your second gas over here. Stick on this gas for a little while. I'd say maybe around the 4-minute mark. Maybe 3:45. You can throw down your gases here, I would say. And then you should be good. And that's when these should finish. So pretty much after the command center is done or after the orbital is done, drop these two gases. Okay. Alright, so we're going straight into the Ravens right now. Nice thing about Ravens, they can spot Banshees. You still need the turret though, because if you try to rush Raven right away, you're not going to have any Vikings to kind of deal with it. And obviously if you throw down an auto turret and a Banshee runs away, it's going to get a lot of kills done, especially since I didn't open up with Marines. Okay. So here, constantly making Ravens. Pretty much very similar build as last game. The only difference is I opened up with Reaper instead. Now, something you all have to learn is that before you engage an opponent, always scan every time. Always scan. So you can see I move up here. I noticed the SCV, I noticed that he scanned. And then I believe I saw those units. So if we look at my vision, I believe I scanned or something. I see those Vikings. So you always want to scan before you attack your opponent. Okay. Yeah. So I see all these Vikings here. And then it's like, okay, that's too many Vikings. I can obviously throw down a couple PDDs, but if my opponent's smart, they're going to pull the Vikings back. Auto turrets aren't going to do anything, and I'm not going to be able to deal with it. The only thing you have to worry about is getting a couple more Ravens out and then getting more Vikings out. You can also throw down some turrets to defend yourself at home. Vikings are not going to kill you with this build. As long as you go back home, just defend, play macro, you have your third base a lot faster than your opponent, that kind of thing, you'll be just fine with this build. And then you can use them into the later game. So that's what we're going to kind of look at. We're going to try to look at the later game a little bit. Show you how to do some engagements later on. Okay, so my opponent contained me. And this is a pretty hefty contain. And this is a pretty powerful force as well. It's got a Liberator set up. There's 5 siege tanks. There's turrets going up. All I've got is Hellions, Ravens, and Vikings. He's also got a higher Viking count than I do. Okay. The only difference is I've got a lot of energy banked up on these Ravens. So what's going to happen here? All you got to do, don't be scared. Go right in. Start attacking. Put down some PDDs. Know that PDDs are good versus Vikings, good versus turrets. Just enough to get auto turrets down. Throw down auto turrets, and look at what happens here. Auto turrets go down, they start wrecking everything. That's because the auto turret is so strong. Once you get the upgrade, that it'll shred through pretty much any kind of force, whether it's bio, whether it's tanks. It's particularly good versus siege tanks a lot. Like it goes straight through siege tanks. Get a little bit of miss micro. That's okay. That's my fault. So know that if you start to run out of energy, always go back home. It's a waste. And I mean, it's a big waste to try to go out when you know you don't have energy because you might just lose everything. Okay. Macro up some more. Make more bases, whatever you need to do. And then that's it. And then when it comes to the late game, try to engage some more with the Ravens. Now, I want to try to show something with bio. Hopefully there's something with bio. If not, then, you know, same concept applies. I'm hoping that there's some games with bio here. I'm not sure if this is a game. We'll see. I don't think this is it, but we'll see. Ooh, Rena is always cheese. I should have mapped this stuff out for you guys first. Okay, yeah. So here, this is what I was talking about. It all just depends on your kind of opening. Like this opening, I decided to do with the Marauder. And if you want to, you can play normal. You can go into some kind of harass if you want, whether it's with Banshees and stuff. Oh. Okay, so I decided to all-in this game. Okay, but same concept though. You can also still open up with Banshee if you want to. Go ahead and macro behind it, and then start getting Ravens out. If you want to go for some kind of quick harass, because I know that's a good idea on this map, that's something you can do as well. Okay, let's take a look at this game. I know this game we used Ravens as well. This game incorporated bio play. Okay. So this game I got confused. It is CC first. I thought my opponent was Protoss. But it's still okay. Same concept. Whatever opener you want to go for, just know that you want to get to those Ravens as quick as possible and be able to defend any kind of attacks that might come at you. This is why you never want to do CC first. You can always get attacked really easily and take damage. But I did a little bit of a race mistake there. As you can see, Going for those Ravens, double starports. Make sure you get those gases. I got my gases a little bit late here, unfortunately. Actually, a lot of late. Those gases should have been a lot sooner. Yeah, getting the Ravens. Getting some Vikings if you want to. Like I said, you can go up to 2, 3 Vikings. Up to you. Now let's pause this. Let's go back. Show you just what happens when they try to do some kind of drop and you've got Ravens. Okay. Here, I've only got 2 Ravens. That's not very good when it comes to dealing with the drop. But it's okay. Because 2 or 3 auto turrets will kill these siege tanks and stuff pretty quickly. Just like that. You don't really need a lot to deal with siege tanks when it comes to the auto turrets. And they didn't even have the attack upgrade yet, as you can see here. The Ravens are really strong when it comes to defense and dealing with drops, like I was saying in the other game. Okay, so we're going to try to do some kind of attack here. And now look, we're playing a Bioterran, right? He's got a lot of supply, 150 to like 110, holy crap. But you know what? I've got Ravens, it doesn't matter. So my opponent decides he wants to attack me. I decided to pull back a little bit. I wanted to pull him out of position before attacking him. I noticed he had a lot. Now, here's the thing though, we're going to pause. And okay, so I decided not to engage him because we want to get the armor first, especially when you're fighting against Bio. If I were to engage him right now with him having that much of a supply lead, there is no way in hell that those auto turrets are going to last enough for me to throw down additional auto turrets. Like, they need to last long enough that I can throw down mass auto turrets around the Bio army. Okay, so very important to get that out, at least by like the 10-minute mark. Took a little bit damage in the beginning, that's why he's behind. Okay, so we engage. Get the surround off, going down the auto turrets. Now watch the army just disappear. Just like that. What happens to the supply? Evened out the supply. That quick, and I have a much stronger army as well. And a more expensive army. Thus, you go into the late game, right? Okay, I try to do a counterattack, but here's the problem, though. I don't know if I've got enough, what do you call it? See, that's what I did. That's what I did with a mistake. You want to send the Hellions in first. That way, you can get enough auto turrets down to do enough damage. The idea is to get a lot of these down at the same time, because if you don't, when you're fighting against max armies like this, it becomes a problem. Also, if you're fighting against a completely maxed out army, I mean like 200 supply, this is probably not going to work. This works best when you're dealing with like small groups, when you're dealing with like drops full of units. If you're fighting any kind of supply that is 150 or higher from your opponent, be a little weary, especially in the late game when they have 3-3, because they're probably going to shred through auto turrets before you can even drop them. At that point in the game, I would hope that you guys would have like a bunch of siege tanks and Hellions, things like that, to complement, you know, the Ravens, and then the Ravens are actually going to be able to throw down like PDDs and stuff to deal with like Marauders, rather than sitting on auto turrets and stuff. Whereas auto turrets would be more like a buffer behind the PDDs for your tank army. But in the beginning of the game, while the bio is weak and they don't have upgrades, this is pretty much going to Shrek them. Okay? So got right on through here. Out a bunch of auto turrets. Running out of energy with the Ravens though. And since we're out of energy, that means we should probably go back home. Okay? Run out of energy, you go back home. You do not want to stick around. You'll lose all these guys for nothing if you do. Okay? So that's just an example. I'm gonna pause it here. Hopefully that's enough information for you guys when it comes to Raven play and Legacy of the Void. This is a very effective tactic in TvT. This is a tactic that pretty much wins me almost all of my TvT games when it goes into the later game, as long as I don't get cheesed too hard in the beginning. Um, I used to play some other kind of builds like super greedy play, going to mass siege tanks, mass hellbats, mass Vikings. I wouldn't really get ravens out at all. I noticed that when I started playing that play, it becomes very, very picky. You got to be perfect. You've got to be able to throw down mass turrets in your base. Um, just to deflect drops, you got to probably put Widow Mine in your base just to kill some of the drops off. Um, they're going to be attacking you everywhere. And yeah, once you get on that fourth base and you're playing against Bio and you don't do this kind of Raven style, it can get pretty tough to play against Bio with mass drops and constant attacking, and they're always going to be on maxed out on supply. Um, with this, you know what? Drops don't work at all. You shut down drops. I can't stress that enough. I've said it so many times in this video. This shuts down drops hardcore. As long as you're not out of position, you don't lose too much in your base, you're going to shut down a drop like it's nothing. Okay? So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully this is something that you guys can use in Legacy of the Void. It's the first Legacy of the Void video. Hype! Okay? So yeah, I'm going to be coming out with more videos too. I'm going to try to do at least 2 or 3 a month if possible. And you know, if you like this stuff, you like the YouTube channel, you can go ahead and subscribe on it. That kind of thing. Going to be some informational videos for StarCraft. Um, if you super like the videos and you really want to help me out, you really want to stress the video creation instead of me just kind of being lazy and doing it whenever, check out the Patreon site that I have. Try to search for Rough. You know, I've got links in the description. I've got links in on my Twitch channel. So you can definitely do that if you really want the videos to constantly keep on going. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.